Coming up on today's show.
I will often ask someone, what made you call me?
Right.
And usually the first word is, I'm overwhelmed.
Like any relationship that you develop with a person, that up front we're always on our best behavior.
I need help in my business, or I need help setting up files, I need help with learning how to use my iPhone, or I need help with residential, whatever it is.
Yes, John, that's absolutely true.
How to choose a professional organizer. We've got great guests to tell you how today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. We're starting season number 2 and we're doing something a little different today. We have a panel discussion with some of the top professional organizers in the nation, representing a little bit different views on how you choose a professional organizer, because maybe you're one of these people who has tried to do it yourself, done a few things and realized, you know what, I can't do it myself. I need to hire a professional organizer. So I'm going to get through the introductions here and then we'll get into this topic big time today. So first, I'm going to start with Louise Kurzika.
Hi, John.
How are you doing? You've been on one of our
Doing great.
podcasts before, so
sure have.
people know who you are and are always excited about your energy level. That's going to bring a lot today.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to kind of talk about your perspective from running a local NAPAL chapter, right?
Right, that's correct. I'm the president of NAPAL, Minnesota, and so entering my second term on that second year on the board in that role, and so have a perspective maybe that other people wouldn't have about why it's important to look at NAPAL in looking for a professional organizer.
And speaking of NAPAL, we also have Mary Dykstra, who's the current president of NAPAL, and she's going to give us a perspective on the national how you look on a national level, because a lot of the professional organizers today are doing virtual coaching and virtual organizing across the whole country, and some have local presence. So Mary, where are you located from?
I'm located in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
So I do travel across the country, and one of the things that I read the other day was, on average, Americans move 10 times during their life. So it makes it very important to have these conversations, because when people move, they're going to want to have an organizer in the area that they're moving into as well.
Awesome. And then to my left, Tami Schatzko, right? Did I pronounce it right?
You got it right.
And Tammy's up from the Nord country in Minnesota, Bemidji, Minnesota, and she's also going to help us talk a little bit about local people and especially in rural areas too, where maybe you don't think you have access to an organizer. And Tami, tell us a little bit about your business.
I have clients that rage.
They rage at you? Oh.
They rage sometimes, and that's okay.
Really like your
they
work.
Can vent off on me and not everybody else, and then I can leave, and it's all good. No, they go from 10 years old up to 94, I think my oldest one is, and we do everything different depending on who they are. And I actually belong to the Minnesota chapter of NAPAL and also the virtual chapter of NAPAL.
Awesome, and we're going to get into that virtual chapter too. That's something kind of newer.
Yep.
So I'm going to turn over to Mary first, because let's start big. Let's start broad on the national level of NAPAL. And what kind of resources are available for someone who's looking for an organizer? Maybe you're in some town and you don't know how to find a professional organizer. Tell us about the website and what kind of resources are available there.
Well, if you'd allow me to, I'd like to step back just a little bit, because maybe some of the people who are looking and listening today don't really know what NAPO is. So it's the National Association of Professional Organizers. We have about 4,000 members worldwide. And when you come to our site, you can get information and tips just on getting organized. It's set up for people who want to be an organizer and those who are looking for services. So we're kind of a one-stop shop. And when you go to our directory, then you would look at an area. If you're looking for a particular expertise, you're saying, I need help in my business, or I need help setting up files, I need help with learning how to use my iPhone, or I need help with residential, whatever it is. And you can look within a small area for those organizers that are in your area. And one of the things that NAPO brings is that the people who choose to join and become members are those that are concerned about keeping their education up and working at a higher level with our client base. So typically we're more educated and we have a passion that we have a good follow through. We work with our peers, and we also have what we call corporate associate members, and you of course are part of that, which we are very appreciative of. And so you help us get better educated about products and about services and about things that we can do in partnership to make it easier and better for our clients.
So let's talk about that education piece, because there's certifications, right? There are different levels of certifications for professional organizers. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit. What are the different, when someone's on your website, they're going to see someone's maybe a certified professional organizer. Not everybody in NAPAL is certified.
No, that is correct.
Okay, so explain that a little bit.
So one of the things is that we've just changed our bylaws, and now when you come in and you become a member of NAPAL, you're coming in as provisional, and then you can go to professional. But what you're going to have to do now is take, or show us that you've taken, a course on best practices for understanding the principles of organizing and the skills, so the skill set you need, as well as ethics, which is a huge benefit, so that in those sticky areas you don't know really what you should do, then our people will be trained. So once you've done those 3 courses, if you choose nothing else, that's fine. But many of our members go through and get a number of other courses under their belts, so that we're always better for our client base. What NAPAL has worked very hard to develop over a number of years is a certification program. So we have a separate board that helps run that program, and it's the CPO, so Certified Professional Organizer. And in order to gain that credential, you have to have 3 years of experience, minimum 1,500 contact hours with your clients, and sit for an examination which goes through a whole litany of tests on, how people think, how they process, project management, ethics, all of those things. And when you pass that, then you get the credential, and you have to take continuing education, 45 credits every 3 years, so that you can maintain the credential. So if you come onto the site and you see CPO, that's what that means.
Okay.
At this time, we don't have another credential. There are other people that do have credentialing, but when we speak about NAPO, that's the credential we have.
Great. And I'm going to flip over to Tami just a second, because when you started your business, how did NAPO play a role in you deciding, hey, I want to get involved in NAPO?
I think for me, NAPO is the difference between printing a business card saying I'm a professional organizer and starting a business being committed to being a professional organizer. And NAPO gave me that opportunity to not only add more credentials and more continuity, but I bring things to my clients that I might not otherwise have access to as far as education. There's a great community network called Point, where if I'm working with a certain client where I just don't have the answers, I can throw the question out there, and maybe another organizer across the world has had the same problem or can give suggestions. And that's been fabulous for me and my clients.
Great. And Louise, you're the president of the Minnesota chapter, so there's not only national chapters, there's state. Is there even below state? I mean, are there city chapters too, or?
Generally, we chose to be a Minnesota chapter 20 years ago when we founded our particular entity, because we wanted to reach out to people like Tami, who were outstate, and actually even western Wisconsin, North, South Dakota, and part of Iowa. But there are cities that actually do. San Francisco is a great example of a chapter that's very strong and vibrant, been there for many, many years, and is focused around that Bay Area.
Right.
But we definitely, on the state level, follow a lot of the same pieces around education. So we meet on a regular basis, monthly, and 5 times a year we are focused on developmental type of programming for your skills, for how you can market your business and build your business, and then also kind of your professional development. So one of the things we've talked about with this ethics course, which is now available to all NAPAL members at no charge, is actually having that be a requirement for our chapter members as well, because we feel it's that strong that people get that base and foundation, so that when people know that they hire someone who is affiliated with NAPO, they can assume certain things about that. And I think that's the key thing that we do as a chapter. The other different thing that we do that maybe isn't the same on the national level is that we try to bring education about organizing and strategies to the public. So we also have several events a year that are open to the public, that are, for our members, but also feature sometimes our own members sharing tips and ideas, and those are really well attended. And it's a way for us to get back to the community, for them to gather and get some really actionable information in a short period of time and improve their lives, really, is the outcome.
Right. Now, Mary, I want to dig into the ethics thing a little bit, because I bet that's a factor when someone's trying to pick an organizer. You want someone you can trust. So typically you might ask, hey, do you know anybody? Well, if you don't know anybody, what does the ethics course kind of cover? What are maybe some of the pillars of that, and how would that help an organizer in their practice?
Well, I think that there are a lot of gray areas. There are some times when clients really don't have a clear understanding of the best way to do something, and if they want to get rid of something, is it okay for the organizer to take that out the door and take care of it for them? Or if somebody says, well, I want you to have this, you being the organizer, you've been so good, this is great. Well, the complication to that can be is that if you're an older individual and you give something to an organizer, and another family member doesn't know that, and it comes up later, it could be, well, did they steal it? Did they put somebody in a position that they felt that they had to gift it? So there are some things like that. And just how do you have confidential conversations? When do you know when it's too much to talk about and something might be better for somebody else to handle? We certainly are not therapists, we're not lawyers, we're not accountants, although some of the organizers have those particular backgrounds. And so we teach very highly. We all want to help, and we all are very good at coming up with ways to help somebody and help them make decisions. But ethically, we have to understand where the lines are and when to say, this is outside my expertise, or you really should be talking to so-and-so, or can I help you find that person? And sometimes when you work with an inexperienced organizer, they don't have the clarity of that. And they don't know the best way to use language and to use the functionality of what they do with their clients to empower their clients to make really great decisions. And that's where the education comes in. And it's not just ethics, but you talk about what are those things that are important and how do you know how to choose an organizer. And my personal thought has always been, it's almost to me in my mind like a medical thing. Do no harm first. And one of the problems is with organizers, especially if they're very new to the business, they can come in and they can set up their system for somebody. But if that person who has always failed, and the only reason they called you is because their pain was so great, and they said, well, obviously you're the expert, I don't know, it's never worked for me, so I'm going to trust you in the system. And they get a system that it's not really set up for the person's success, for mental, emotional, physical, and financial, they're not going to call the organizer back. And the organizer is going to think they did a fine job because they've never heard different.
Right.
So it's being and having that experience level to say, let's check back in. How does this feel? How is this going to work for you? Let's vision this out. And then knowing, we're just going to try this for a little bit, and if it doesn't work, no problem. It's not your problem. We're going to shift it a little bit, and we're going to make it so that it's going to work for how you're mentally and emotionally wired. Not a problem. So that you put the client in a place emotionally that they can feel safe and empowered. They can make really great decisions, and they don't have an organizer saying, you must do this, you should do this, because that's not what our real profession is about.
Okay, we're going to take a quick little break here, and when we come back, I want to get back into the shoes of that person maybe who's the first-time buyer of professional organizing services, and get a take from each of you guys on what kind of questions they should ask you. So we'll be right back in just a moment. With the size of office and desk space shrinking, it's time to get creative when organizing. Introducing the Cascading Wall Organizer by Smead. The Cascading Wall Organizer saves desk space by utilizing often overlooked wall space. The 6 cascading pockets are removable to make viewing and accessing documents easy, while the elastic cord closure allows for security when transporting your files. With each pocket being able to hold 25 sheets of paper, that makes for a whole lot of storage right on your wall or door. No desktop space required. The clear front pocket is perfect for storing a calendar or small items that need to be accessed daily. This organizer is made from acid-free poly material, which makes it tear-proof and water-resistant. The Cascading Wall Organizer from Smead, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, our Season 2 premiere, and we have got a great panel discussion going here. We have Tami Schatzko from Bemidji, Minnesota, Louise Kurzika from Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and Mary Dykstra, the president of NAPAL, who's with us from Michigan, all sitting around in our cozy little Keeping You Organized studio, talking about how do you hire a professional organizer, because that's a lot of people try to do it themselves and then finally get to a point. Maybe Tami, you can kind of just get into the mind of that person. What are they probably thinking when they finally given up on the idea that they can do it themselves? And maybe some of the first questions they ask you.
I think I still live in a rural area where there's a real need for education, because most of them think that it's like the TV show. And the first question is usually, what can I buy? What do you need me to buy? And I'd say don't buy anything until after our first or second time, when we decide what you're actually going to keep. It's not about what you have, it's about what you want to keep around you. And the second question, or inference, they don't always say it out loud, but is, are you going to make me throw all my stuff away? Are you going to tell me to get rid of everything? But that gives me the opportunity to have the conversation that a professional organizer is not there to make the decisions for you. Right. We're there to kind of guide you and ask you the hard questions and let you make the decisions about why are you keeping this or why are you not keeping this. Right. Kind of a prioritizing system.
Now, Louise, in a local area, some people might think, well, aren't these organizers in competition with each other? I mean, aren't they cutthroat? I mean, they don't want to share secrets with each other.
Yes, John, that's absolutely true.
So, I mean, yeah. So how does that work? Because to me, it sounds like it's more of a support organization than, obviously.
Boy, that's such a good question, because there are some people who are very intimidated by being with their peers and don't want to share information. And sometimes that's a circumstance where someone new doesn't understand. There are questions you shouldn't be asking. So one of the things, we never discuss our fees. We always can talk about ranges of fees, but we don't talk about our fees because there are laws against that. Yeah. And so that's part of where, again, being a part of a chapter, you can indoctrinate it into understanding, how do we work with each other? How do we collaborate with each other and use this network that we've created here to benefit all of our businesses? So we all have different specialties and different areas of clientele that we work with. Some people only work with seniors, helping them move. Some people only work with business owners. Some people only work with residential clients. Some people only work with families and children. Some people only like to work with people with chronic issues, with disorganization. So there might be a time in which I run into a client where I don't have the expertise to help them with that piece. If I'm connected with my chapter and I know who's in that chapter, who would be competent to work with it, because I've seen them at chapter meetings, I've heard them talk, I've had conversations with them discussing challenges maybe that they've had, or I've seen them on point talking about something. Now I know with confidence that I can take the trust that somebody has come to me because maybe they were referred to me, or maybe it's somebody I've been working with on a different vein, and now I can trust that I can pass them off to this person and be able to have them service that client for that need. Now, a provision that we all want to remember here is that even in that circumstance where you're getting a very one-to-one, very well developed and understood and educated referral, that a client should always look at best at 3 professional organizers when they're going to make a choice. And our website locally, and I think most of them locally, as well as the national website, make it really easy to do that by the zip code search. And you can put in the specialty areas of which you need help, and you'll get a listing of those folks. And then based on the material you see, we would encourage people to make phone calls to those 3 individuals that they feel most connected to or best fit, have conversations, but that's not all. You should use the internet as a good tool, looking at websites, doing Googling of people's names and their business names, so that you make sure there isn't anything out there that is going to be a problem. And that way you can make a better informed decision about who's going to be the right organizer for me to work with. We do not take it personally when we have a conversation with someone and they say in follow-up, well, I decided to work with so-and-so. And I said, that's great. If that doesn't work out for any reason, know that I'm here for you. But if it does, I really wish you well, and we hope that will be the outcome.
Right. Well, Mary, I'm thinking that from a national perspective too, and probably even a local in your area, there's a lot of psychology that goes on. how much counseling do professional organizers need to do? Like Tami said, people are thinking right away, I'm going to have to get rid of everything. Do you kind of overcome that objection right away? Because say, hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you to do that. Or how do you deal with, because people are probably suspicious, right? They maybe don't know you very well, and they think you're going to be one of these neatniks that's going to come in and pull everything away. How do you deal with that on a psychological level?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be human. You have to be approachable. And you have to be with them in the conversation that they want to have. One of the things when somebody just asks me on the street, what do you do? And I tell them, and I say, well, I'm a professional organizer. And they say, oh, what's that? And I said, tell me what you think that might mean. And so then they'll reflect back to me, so then I can clear that very quickly and set the expectation. And I think all organizers, all good organizers do this, but I don't think that they'll articulate it the same way. Our passion and our ability is to help our client take a step back, take a breather, and then we help them set up really good decision-making criteria in 4 key areas. What are you going to let into your life? Whether it's in your schedule or your physical space, where is it going to go? How do you know when you're done with it? And what's the exit strategy? Because if you fail in any of those areas, then you get into overwhelm. And so many of the times when the clients come, they don't even know where to start. So it's having that conversation about, first and foremost, we're going to talk about where you are now, where you want to go, and what's keeping you up at night. After we do that, we can talk about prioritizing. I don't even need to look at your physical space until I know where you are mentally and emotionally. That's where you have the conversation. And I say to people right up front that it's not about making you throw things away. It's about having those things around you that are important and that you have passion around or that you need for the government, and that they are always in the driver's seat, but I'm there to help do the stepping stone from position to position. Some organizers do just consultations, and then the client does all the work, and then sometimes you have clients and organizers partnering side by side, and then you've got that transference of skills. And then you've got the third set where an organizer will come in, do an assessment, find out really what needs to be done, but then the organizer does all of the work and then brings the client back into the situation.
Have you ever had a situation where maybe on the initial call or even in the initial meeting you've decided, you know what, this is not a good match for me? I mean, do you ever turn business down because it's not a good match?
If you are good in your languaging skills, the client will self-select and say thank you and they won't call back.
How about you, Louise? Have you been in that situation before?
Yeah, I think like any relationship that you develop with a person, that up front we're always on our best behavior, and sometimes down the road things can happen. I always try to remember that our clients often are under a great deal of stress for one reason or another. I don't take it personally, but if there are times when I have to set a boundary for myself, then I'll do that. And sometimes the client has set that boundary, has had the need to. That as we've gotten into working together, they didn't feel it was the right fit. And so again, as a professional, you know that that's just what happens sometimes in business. And I've often encouraged people to look at other people that I think could be a good fit when that isn't the case. But you have to do that in order for the client to be successful, because that's what the outcome is here that we're looking for. It's not just to continue to work with somebody and make money. That isn't the goal.
What I want to do is give each of you just opportunity to maybe just summarize your services and give your website or any contact information, phone, so that if someone who's watching or listening wants to get a hold of you and they kind of like your style, because we've got 3 different styles here, and you probably specialize in little different things, even though you probably do it all. But Louise, let's start with you. How can people get a hold of you, and what's your sweet spot?
Sure. So Louise Krzyzika, Everything's Together. Louise at Everything's Together is a great email or phone number 952-939-8080, and I do work with people virtually, so I have had clients in other parts of the country, and I tend to work with people who have lifelong challenges with disorganization, so not things that are just transitional or just things that are to this circumstance, but more so that for an underlying cause or reason. And I've been well trained and educated to be able to do that, and really find that, in a sense, a part of my passion towards helping people find a way to live their life more successfully than they have before.
Awesome.
So give me a call.
Yeah. Mary.
Well, Mary Dykstra, and actually it's Mary Dykstra Novus now, and I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, within Reach Organizing Services, and my tagline is clearing the clutter from your mind and your environment so you can stay focused on your highest payoff activities. So I work with both residential clients as well as small business. I love working with people in the multi-level marketing. So the Zapatas and the candles and just all of that, because they don't know how to run a business from their home and know how to make good decisions. My website is withinreach.biz, B-I-Z, and my phone number is area code 616-453-2976.
Awesome. And Tami.
I am Tami with We Love Messes, so you can go to welovemesses.com. I have a Facebook page. I love dealing with paper. That's probably my most favorite thing to do, but I also deal a lot with hoarding and chronic disorganization. And now that I think about it, a lot of moms with kids and getting the house in order so that they have smooth school routines and things like that. So you can find me on the web, or you can call me at 218-766-0197.
Well, you know, we are out of time right now, and I don't want this conversation to end. So what we're going to do, if it's okay with you guys, we're going to come back for another session. We'll be back next week with the continuation of how to choose a professional organizer on Keeping You Organized. Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized.
Are you going to make me throw all my stuff away? Are you going to tell me to get rid of everything?
We do not take it personally when we have a conversation with someone and they say in follow-up, well, I decided to work with so-and-so. That's great. You know, if that doesn't work out for any reason, know that I'm here for you. But if it does, I really wish you well, and we hope that that will be the outcome.
And then we help them set up really good decision-making criteria in 4 key areas. What are you going to let into your life? Whether it's in your schedule or your physical space, where is it going to go? How do you know when you're done with it? And what's the exit strategy?